6 months ago, I was watching porn at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday in my childhood bedroom, hating myself before I even finished. Not because I was some out of control weirdo, but because it was easy. And everything else in my life at the time, it was hard and felt long. And if that sentence just made you uncomfortable, good. Because I'm going to tell you the exact thing that got me out of this. And it's not what all these other videos say. They tell you to white knuckle this shit and go cold turkey. And they tell you to use your willpower and use blockers and cold showers. And that shit works. But it only works for about 4 days. And then you're back to the feeling, you're back to watching porn. And then you feel way worse than before. And I did that for 2 years. What actually worked was something nobody talks about. And I'm going to walk you exactly through step by step. Because if you're watching this at 2 a.m. or scrolling, then this is your way out. I remember this exact time too. I was supposed to do my work for my business or for my YouTube or whatever. I was supposed to be doing this hard work that involved a lot of thinking and a lot of cognitive skills. And so whenever that happened, instead of doing this, my brain was like, why the fuck am I doing this? I should be watching porn and I should be getting the quick hit. And this is what happens to a lot of young guys. And that's how they get stuck in this. But I was at my desk doing this hard work or trying to, and the temptations kept arising. And so eventually sitting down in the same spot, just feeding into that temptation every single time. That's exactly how they get you. And you all know this feeling of shame that we get after we do this. We watch porn, we do it, and then we feel absolutely guilty and we feel shameful. Some guys will refer to it as like post-nut clarity. We all feel this as guys, and it makes us feel like shit. And it kills our motivation and it kills our energy. And we don't want to do anything, because we just set our dopamine levels from here, and then we watch porn and it spiked. And then now we're back down. So why the fuck would you expect me to read a book or do my hard work? Whatever. I'm so used to being up here from that spike. This is how porn works. We all feel this feeling of shame. A common lie that we end up telling ourselves whenever it comes to this or any other bad habit. Because, most of the people watching this video are young entrepreneurs who are, on self-improvement trying to get into the same field. We all go through this. We're watching porn or it may be other bad habits. We all go through this. Things people tell themselves is, just this once. It's not going to hurt if I do it just once. And that's the exact mindset that has kept you in this cycle. Because, you're just doing it once until you can't stop yourself. The whole point is stopping the temptation or the urge as soon as it arises. Because imagine this, right? So imagine there's a hill, and at the top of the hill there's a boulder, and then a guy holding it. So whenever that boulder first comes, the guy might be able to hold it, if he gets that urge away soon. But if the guy goes down here on the hill, this is the bottom, he's right here now. The boulder will come and it'll get so much momentum because you're just feeding into the urge. You can't stop that. You're already past the point of return. And so this, just this once, it's not going to hurt me if I watch porn today. Like, who cares, And that's exactly why you've been stuck for the last couple years, with these same bad habits. So whenever I was deep into porn, I obviously hated porn, because a lot of us guys watch porn. We don't like porn. We don't watch porn because we like it. It's because it goes deeper than that. It makes us feel a certain way. I knew that porn was bad. I didn't quite grasp how bad it was, but I know I needed to stop it or at least limit it. So the first way I tried, I had my notes app and I would write down, whatever year it was, 2025, and then I would write down the month, and then I would write down, like, I had a couple slots. I would have one for like how many times I, fapped at all, and then I would have another slot for how many times I watched porn with it. And then underneath those two, I would have two. One for the FAP, like the goal, like, I wanted to do it under 30 times this month or like whatever the number may be. And then the same thing for porn. So I would have how much I did of each and then how much I wanted to stay under. So for porn, it would be like, 10 or whatever for the starting month. So I'd be like, I don't want to watch porn over 10 times. So then the next month I would lower it, say for February, I wanted to watch porn for or I wanted to watch it under 10 times. Okay, then March, it would be 8 times or 9 times. And then you would eventually just slowly go down and down and down. Because if you go to the gym and, progressive overload, you progressively go more and more. Well, this is progressively deloading. And it worked. It did work. But me as a young guy on self-improvement, I wanted the instant results of no porn at all, no fapping at all, even though I completely missed the improvement I was actually doing. Because while doing this, I was completely lowering my porn usage, but also the amount of times I was jerking off. So all around, it was a full success, but I didn't see that because I was still doing it. So kill your ego and do not make the same mistake I did. And also, a lot of problems I see guys do on self-improvement is they'll rely way too much on willpower. And, it's good to have your confidence, your self-beliefs, and to rely a little bit on your willpower. But the amount of times I see guys putting all of it on the line for willpower, like watching porn and then they're like, oh, I'm not going to watch porn. I just won't do it. Whenever the temptation or the urge arises, I'll just shut it out. This is a lie we tell ourselves. We know we're not going to be able to shut that addiction out. We know the only best way to run away from porn is to just start running, get out of the room, do push-ups. That's the only way to stop these urges. And that's the way I do it right now. Because whenever you get these urges, you're most likely to get them in the same spots you get them every single time. You know, if it's in your room, at your desk, whatever the case may be, it's usually linked and it's usually the same thing. Now, a common thing I would see in guys who would be trying to stop this kind of behavior, and I actually don't see a lot of people talk about this on YouTube, is the relapse pattern. Because a lot of us relapse and it kills all of our motivation and it makes us not want to do anything. And so usually whenever we do that to porn, we're completely set for the whole day. You know, we don't want to do anything else. But what will also happen is a chain reaction, a sort of domino effect. What I notice is I'll be so disciplined. I'll wake up. I will do no dopamine. I won't even look at my phone. I'll immediately start doing the hard tasks. But then what happens is I start to get hard urges. It's like my brain telling me like, why the fuck aren't you having any, like, give me something. And so it keeps with these urges until it overpowers me and I give in. So whenever you're on these really disciplined like moments or arcs or phases in your life, you're going to get a lot more fucking urges. And then what happens whenever you give in is, you know, you started the morning off so disciplined, you were fucking making your bed and all this shit. And then you give in, you watch porn, and then it all falls apart. You know, I'm sure we've all experienced this and have all dealt with this. You start off so strong, you watch porn, and it all falls apart. You start drinking soda, you start eating like shit, and then you feel even worse. And then you start watching YouTube, and then you're completely screwed for the entire day. And then you got to get a fresh start tomorrow. Well, also, what happens, and it's kind of like a trap, is whenever you start winning other than like morning routines, you know, like making your bed and stuff, whenever you start winning without that stuff, so, you know, accomplishments or achievements, you know, stuff that makes you happy inside, going to the gym or whatever, that also unironically gives you more urges for porn. It makes no fucking sense. Like, because I box and I go on runs and I go to the gym, and I've noticed that whenever I do these tasks, you know, I'll go on a run and I'll box, I'm more likely to get these porn urges because I feel so confident throughout the day. I'm like, yeah, I did that shit, you know, I'm unstoppable. And then the urge comes, and just like that, I gave in. Because I run like 10 miles. I've ran 10 miles in one run, just in one day, just because I felt like it. Whenever it comes to physical discipline, I'm very fucking strong at it. Like I'll take off my shirt right now and go run fucking 5 miles just because in the Florida heat. I'm not trying to brag to you guys, or I'm not trying to brag by saying that. What I'm saying is I do all this shit like physical. I go to the gym, I lift weights, you know, whatever, but I still get knocked over by porn just as easily as you guys watching this video, because your physical discipline, whenever it comes to like running and weightlifting and boxing, whatever the case may be, is completely different to the urges inside your brain and that discipline. You know, being able to be disciplined whenever it comes to your sexual urges, especially as a young man, you know, with all your testosterone running and shit. So just beware of this. So the actual turning point in my addiction with my porn growing up, I implemented a system. I built a system for myself. No, I'm not trying to sell you guys anything, but I'm just trying to get into my system. This system kind of stripped me from porn because this system also dug deep. In order to get porn out, there's a reason porn is in there. And sort of imagine like you have your brain right here. Just imagine your brain. You know, it's like split up into many different sections. One of those, there might be a hole, or like one of the sections is empty and porn is in there filling the hole. Because most guys aren't watching porn because we enjoy it. You know, we don't watch porn because we enjoy the fucking way the girl looks, you know. Like me growing up, I don't watch porn anymore, but growing up, it was such a bad problem and I had such a bad addiction, and I never watched that shit because the girl was pretty. I had girlfriends growing up and I still watched porn. Like, these are the fucking levels we're at right now. Like, people really underestimate how strong porn is. But the real reason I got to grab a grip of it and kind of kill my addiction was whenever I implemented the system. And I recommend you build yourself a system like this too. But it was basically as simple as I get an urge, I move. I don't continue sitting down, even if I'm working on the most important shit today. I get an urge, I go on a walk. You know, I take the dog. You have to get out of your environment. It takes about, I forgot what the saying was. It was like 22 minutes or something like that to completely rid an urge. Even the strongest urge, it's about like 22 minutes. You know, one time, whenever I was really peak in my addictions growing up, I went about like 45 days without jerking off at all, or watching porn, I'm gonna be honest, that shit did not feel like how you think it would. You know, I didn't have superpowers. The girls didn't smell me walking in the same room. You know, I didn't get all that aura or any of that stupid shit that's made up nowadays. But what actually happened was I actually got scared. You know, I wasn't getting like random boners and shit. So I was like, what happened? Is my testosterone low? Like, am I fucking normal? Am I having libido problems at age like 17? Because I stopped getting urges. And then what ended up happening is I actually did it just to fucking make sure I could still do it. So if you actually break free and it starts to feel weird, just remember what I just said, just so you don't get back into that habit. Because once I relapsed, you know, I was going so strong and then I relapsed and then it all came back to me. I had the addiction again. I couldn't stop. It was the exact fucking same as it was, even whenever I had the 45 days or whatever without anything. So whenever you get the urge, move. You know, cold shower, walk, meditation, whatever the fucking case may be, do it. Don't sit in the same spot you got the urge, because that is the number one trigger. You just run away from lust, run away from temptation, okay? I promise you, you're not strong enough to beat that shit on your own. So this is part of the reason I built my lock-in protocol, okay? It's my free system. It's my daily system I use every single day. That has helped me stop porn and, you know, get more disciplined. I advertise this to my viewers because it actually helped change my life, and it's working on changing the lives of other people who are using it right now. I'm not going to lie and say it's going to change your life, you know, and do any of that, but it's completely free and it's a great starting point. So you don't have to start guessing all your days, you know, it'll just have it all in order. But that's top link in the description. There was times I would watch porn, you know, before family would come over, and then I would go downstairs and talk with my family, and it's just like I'm so fucking disgusted and I'm so shameful because I can't even talk to my family because I did this action and now I feel like shit. And there's been times I had my ex-girlfriend, or my ex at the time, she was my girlfriend, but there would be times whenever we would be getting intimate and I would still be watching porn with the girl. So I would be used to watching the porn and all that unrealistic shit to whenever the real girl was in front of me, I couldn't even stay hard. And it just completely killed the romance and it killed the intimacy that we had. But there was some real changes that were made, you know, in my environment. My phone is a black screen, like my home screen, it's black. There's about 4 apps in the middle that I use for everything. I used to have Instagram and TikTok, completely deleted them. I used to post on Instagram and TikTok and it wasn't really yielding. So I was like, okay, then I'm just going to delete this shit and focus on YouTube, because I was posting on Instagram and TikTok, but at the same time, every now and then I would scroll and I would sit there and scroll on Instagram and TikTok. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I honestly hate that shit. And I don't really care for posting on it. So I just completely deleted both of them. I deleted most of my contacts. I barely talk to anyone, but there's a lot of shit you have to do. You know, all your hoes, you know, girls that are sending you nudes that are just complete lust. Stupid. You need to get rid of that because that's not going to help you with your porn addiction. But there has been absolutely light on the other side of the tunnel. I'm not completely where I want to be right now, but I'm definitely, like, compared to back then whenever I watch porn, like right now, you know, I do all my stuff, gym, boxing, running, and it feels great. Like whenever I'd go periods without doing any of it, no porn, no jerking off, I feel so strong and I feel so motivated and energized. Like whenever I'm boxing, I have so much energy and I can just go forever. So there are real benefits to doing this. You know, I'm not just saying there's no hope or anything like that. I mean, I look better, I sound better, you know, still got a long way to go, but I've came a long way too. But one of the main differences with stopping porn is being able to love yourself again. Because whenever you're deep in porn, you don't really love yourself. You know, your brain sort of owns you. You're your brain's a little bitch. And it has like a leash around you. And anytime an urge comes up, you assume you just have to immediately act on it. It's like a fucking monkey. Like, and you get to love other people too, with full love, not with like half-ass love, because half your brain's focused on porn and all this shit. And then once you get out of this stage, whenever you constantly need porn, you can go a week or two, then you're past the hard part, because then you have other things filling the void, other real things, you know, like gym or relationship with a girl. You know, you have these healthy remedies. Now for us guys and us young entrepreneurs who are on self-improvement, our public enemy and our common enemy is porn. And it is the porn industry. You know, OnlyFans and all that shit, it's straight the common enemy. Because I'm sure you guys have all had nights whenever it was 2 a.m. and you were hating on yourself. You know, you had these urges and they kept hitting and you acted on it and you couldn't sleep. We've all had nights like these, you know. Whenever you're working as an entrepreneur, you have a lot of stress, a lot of headaches. So whenever you do this hard work, especially work that involves thinking, your brain starts to fucking panic. And your brain's like, oh, shit, I don't want to think. Porn, please. So be sure to watch out for that. But if I've been describing yourself, again, top link, but I'm a sellout. No, it's completely free. From the beginning of this video, I told you guys how I went from, you know, in my childhood bedroom, 11 a.m., jerking off, doing shit, to the end, to whenever I was disciplined and ridding porn out of my life and the effects it had on me, the good effects and the bad effects. So I hope you guys can get something from this video and sort of think about what I've been saying whenever I'm done with this video, because I want to give you guys nothing but value. So I hope that whenever you watch this video through, you get something out of it and just not a bunch of bullshit yapping. If you like this video, subscribe.